Hello, and welcome to Williams Mullen's Trending Now, an IP podcast, a legal podcast focused on providing innovative companies and investors with important and timely information concerning intangible assets such as patents, trademarks, copyrights, and trade secrets. I'm your host, Janet Cho, and today I'll be joined by Evan Klick in our intellectual property practice group here at Williams Mullen. Evan is a summer associate with our team for the summer, and today we will be discussing AI and inventorship. Evan, thank you so much for joining me today. Do you want to let our listeners know who you are?
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here. My name's Evan Klick. I am a summer associate here at Williams Mullen. I graduated from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte in 2024 with a degree in mechanical engineering. I had a concentration in biomedical engineering and a mathematics minor, and I'm currently in law school at Wake Forest University.
So, as you can hear, Evan is the brains of our operation here today. So, I'm glad Evan is taking the lead. So, on that, this is a very broad topic. And so, we've tried to make this user friendly and distill what we think might be helpful in terms of just igniting engagement and thought in the realm of AI and inventorship. So, to level set a little bit, we will be discussing an important case regarding inventorship and the use of AI and some issues regarding liability. And I will say that we're not going to cover every facet of these two topics, but it's really just to get you as our listeners thinking, considering, maybe applying some policy issues where you are, or risk mitigation strategies, or just to even potentially get a discussion going in your environment. So with that, I will turn it over to Evan, and he will be discussing an important case as it relates to inventorship. Evan, take it away.
Absolutely. So today we're going to be talking about a huge case, Taller v. Vidal, which is a 2022 decision where Dr. Stephen Thaler created an AI system called DABUS, which he then claimed autonomously generated two different inventions. So it was a food container and then a light beacon. So in 2019, he filed a patent application with the US Patent and Trademark Office listing DABUS as the sole inventor. And so that's the AI system. The USPTO rejected his applications and said, only natural persons, so humans, can be inventors under the Patent Act. So he challenged the decision, which led to the case getting appealed all the way up to the federal circuit. And the ultimate question was, can an AI be listed as an inventor? So he argued that under the Patent Act, the term individual can encompass AI systems, citing that the Act's provisions, they don't limit the manner in which the invention is made. So whether AI is used as essentially the sole inventor. And he argued that the interpretation would promote more innovation in the field by recognizing AIs as inventors. So the USPTO countered that argument by saying the Patent Act restricts the inventorship strictly to humans. And it points to language within the act, like himself, herself, and the legal definition of individual as a human being. So the court ultimately ruled at the district court level, they upheld it, and the federal circuit affirmed the court's decision, relying on the Dictionary Act in prior cases to conclude that inventors are humans. They are ultimately humans. So the implications from that case are that AR inventorship is barred. You cannot have AI listed as a named inventor. There's a human-centric framework that's now created under that precedent. So it's going to prioritize human creativity as opposed to what AI can do. Then there's an innovation debate going on, and it misaligns us with the global precedent on cases like this. So in the EU, AI is seen more as a tool that can be listed, so you can use that in development. But in the US, it's got to be strictly human. So in the future, it'll be interesting to see where this leads.
So, Evan, what is your thought on whether or not restricting inventorship to an actual human would potentially suppress breakthroughs and revolutions in a particular area?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll definitely dampen, innovation in certain fields. So the pharmaceutical industry is a great example where these companies will use AI to create these drug formulas. And if there's any sort of fear that AI usage could lead to a patent application rejection when you're pouring millions of dollars into the development of the drug, or any invention for that matter, then I think a lot of people are going to be skeptical in using it, which is a shame because it really is an innovative masterpiece.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And certainly I can see the desire to utilize AI generally or specific platforms to achieve breakthroughs. That said, we can't talk about the good side of this without also talking about the potential counter issues, which are potentially liability related if you are using AI to create new technologies or some other type of work. So, what are your thoughts for our listeners in terms of things to think about for liability should you use AI? And it turns out that what's been created is it's not as original or it's not as unique or what have you as you thought.
Absolutely. I think for potential clients in any field, so whether that's, pharmaceuticals, the legal field, any industry, truly, the use of AI does come with some liability to it. So first and foremost, if you have a proprietary AI, you're developing it in-house. One, it's costly. It's incredibly costly. Two, you have to train these AI systems to actually do what you want them to do. So you're going to be pouring client-based data into these machines. Now, that creates its own issue of if there's any sort of data breach, now you've got a host of problems coming your way with clients. They wouldn't be too happy. That's definitely a liability issue. And then further, the actual IP aspect of it. So if AI generates, a formula for a drug that's already in use, and somebody drops the ball and misses that, it has no ability to check itself. It can't go to the USPTO website and check and see if this has been applied for or anything like that. So you could ultimately wind up putting yourself, in a position to be sued or opposed by some of these larger companies, and that's a huge, huge issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like from what I know, there are potentially several points of liability should you use AI to create a piece of technology or to achieve some sort of revolution. It sounds like there's one, the issue of potential liability from the owner of the AI platform itself. So if it's a company that owns the AI platform or whatever AI tool you're using, that potentially they are liable for providing you with something, you as the user with something that infringes. Also, maybe the end user, if you as the end user, you in turn use it to either create something or market something that the ultimate owner of that material would decide that you are an infringer. Also, the developer of the AI or the algorithms might potentially be involved as a source of liability. So it sounds like in terms of resolving the liability points, there are on one hand potentially several points of liability, and also as with many things AI today, we have many more open questions than we have resolution or answers. So, what would you say to someone or to a party or a company who's kind of contemplating, hey, should I use AI? What are your recommendations for certain thoughts to mitigate risk or things to be aware of?
Absolutely. So I think, like I said, AI is an innovative masterpiece. It can do so many different things that we couldn't do, 2 or 3 years ago, and it's rapidly developing. Now, in terms of risk, I think potential clients should look out for if they're using another developer's AI. So say the run-of-the-mill kind of Chat GPT, Grok, all these, AIs that are out there that most people use, they need to read the policies. They need to understand what agreements they have with their clients and what the data privacy, obligations that they have and they're under. And if they go into developing an AI, they certainly need to set the left and rights for the developers. They need to make sure that the data they're pouring into it is secure, it's safe. And furthermore, if they can develop a method for the AI to detect if it is plagiarizing or infringing on somebody else's invention, it'll either not do that or throw up a flag to prevent anything like that. But I think in terms of avoiding future litigation or liability, those are the two biggest things you can do. I would definitely advise future clients to not be dissuaded from AI applications. I think it's critical in today's world.
Thank you, Evan. And I think that makes sense. As with many tools that assist us, there are definitely helpful aspects to it and its contribution to innovation and development, but it also comes with some risks that you at least have to be aware of and weigh as you progress. So I think what you've shared with us has been very helpful in providing digestible and concrete, factors to consider. So is there anything else you'd like to leave with our listeners?
I think just, everything we've said, AI is a great tool, but, like any lawyer can tell you from taking torts, in the US you'll be sued for just about anything. So I would not let the liability scare you too much. But yeah, taking, certain steps to mitigate risk is crucial, just like anything else. But I think it's a great tool.
Well, thank you, Evan. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. I believe that will wrap up our discussion on AI and inventorship and this episode of Trending Now, an IP podcast. We look forward to keeping listeners updated on this topic as it relates to AI and inventorship and intellectual property, broadly speaking. Listeners, if you have any questions or suggestions for future episodes, please contact us. You can also visit our intellectual property practice page at williamsmullen.com/IP. There you can find out more about our team, as well as past episodes of this podcast and legal alerts. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast to be notified when our next episode posts. Thank you so much, listeners, for being with us, and until next time.